Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your day today. We have a little bit to go over. This is kind of a warning to all Christians. There's a lot of Christians that talk about the predictions of the Bible, talks about things to come, but how many Christians are actually preparing you for what's literally around the corner? How many years until everything kind of hits? No one really knows. But there is something that is very important, especially in history, going back, looking at how history always rhymes, doesn't repeat, that we are in a historic cycle right now, and not many people are aware of it, especially Christians. When we look at the Christian and the modern society, everyone wants to talk about relationships, being better, being a better you. It's always you, and not the family, not building Christians up, not about money, not about wealth, not about inheritance. And God talks about all these things of, he who doesn't provide for a family is worse than an infidel. An infidel is a very bad word for many people because it comes from Islam, right? No, it also comes from the Bible. An infidel is someone who pretty much just goes against God, is at war with God. And so we're going to look at the things that are surrounding our culture right now, at least in the West. Other parts of the world, I don't know. I don't live there. I'm not part of that world. But one thing that a lot of people have not been thinking about lately and have not been warning about, especially Christians, which throws me off because I would think that Christians would be warning our brothers and sisters a little bit more than the world warns the world. The world also has people looking out for their futures, and us as Christians, we need to be looking at the future as well too. Do we worry about the future? No, God says that, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. We have enough problems to worry about today, but we need to take care of our families. We need to work hard. We need to, eat by the sweat of our brow. Genesis, it tells us all things, especially after the curse. It really gives our female and male perspective of what we should be doing and looking toward if we want to continue on in this life. Now, what I'm talking about in this video, and I don't know how long this live stream is going to be. My wife is coming home, so I'm going to try to rush a little bit, is the Great Depression, 1920. We are in 2025. So it's history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And I want to watch a little bit of a video with you guys. Hopefully I don't get copyright. If I do, I do. But we're going to do a playback speed of 1.5. And we're going to look at the stock market crash of 2008. I would highly urge you guys to look at the Great Depression in 1920 or 1929, pretty much. In 1920, let me bring you back on the face. In 1920, women were put in the workforce for the first time. Banks were giving loans to everybody, and people were also able to use those loans to bet on the stock market. The stock market started really flourishing in high amounts. And I believe that it was President Hoover that was the president. He was blamed for a lot of it as well too. But people invested in the stock market left and right. This correlates to where we are now. In 1929, the stock market and the economy. Okay, so the stock market was rising in 1929, and the economy was failing, and people didn't understand why, how, or what. This was also around the time that Ford, the Model T, was available to everybody. So women started getting back into work. Everybody had a car. People were starting to buy electric refrigerators. They were buying electric washing machines and or radios and stuff like that. The conveyor process brought everything to a cheaper standard. And then in not too long of history, we have 2008. 2008 doesn't seem that bad because we're doing pretty well now, right? But a lot of people lost everything. And just like the Great Depression, people lost everything. People took their savings from cash and gold or whatever they did and put it into the stock market, into these made up money systems, just like your bank account, just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, Shiba. All right, so let's get into this video.
Apple's up more than 6% right now. Google about 3%, but Dell, Intel, Research Motion, and Microsoft are all to the upside. Look how strong.
Did not disappoint. 400 points higher. Yes, indeed. The market's more higher last 30 minutes of trading as volatility once again rules the day.
Most of the techs this morning, if not all of them, have just exploded for the
September 29th, 2008.
down 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market.
Dang, she is still on Fox News. If you guys check that out, I don't know. All right, so this is crazy, right? This is why it's important to watch. It's important to watch the news to see how the world is lying to you. It's not important to watch the news to figure out your future and your life events. You know, go to God and understand history. But this chick right here on the left, if you guys can see, this chick right here on the left, there we go. She is actually a Fox analyst in mainstream news to this day. She is indoctrinated. Just think about that. Just think about that. This is 2008. She's been there for, what, 20 years? 30 years? Crazy.
We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
What in the world is happening on Wall Street?
Two-year note yields went from 190 to 166 in the blink of an eye.
On the NASDAQ, everything and more has been completely wiped out.
It was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
From the financial capital of the world, the opening bell is going to ring in 5 seconds, and to be honest with you, we wish it wouldn't.
Traders here working the phone say a lot of their customers are freaked out, waiting to see how low the Dow will go. They're focused on the Dow, not so focused on OPEC. Yes, OPEC did cut production by 1.5 million barrels per day.
Really, you're seeing just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors. Apple's under pressure, Yahoo down 8.5%, Cisco 6.5%, Research in Motion 10%.
And we're not getting the bid wanted. We're not getting the stop trading, and we see where the buyers are. We're just every day they're pounding it.
The heightened financial turmoil that we have experienced of late may well lengthen the period of weak economic performance and further increase the risk to growth.
Can't look at it after you buy it because it's so horrible.
But we've had an 8-day losing streak in the Dow that in percentage terms puts it on par, close to the loss suffered in that crash in 1987, close to that percentage loss those 2 days in 1929.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.
We're down 9% today. The Xetra DAX over in Frankfurt is down by 9%. The Paris market down by 9%. Austria, which was briefly suspended earlier on in the day, is down by nearly 11%.
This market is as volatile as you'll ever see.
Traders say this is the craziest day they have ever seen in these markets. Veteran traders saying they've never seen anything like it. The movement in oil prices so fast, so
Seconds ago until the start of trading at the New York Stock Exchange, and stocks are set to kick off lower, a whole lot lower.
eBay is down 6.5%, and really you're seeing...
Okay. So what we just watched right there was the stock market crash of 2008. We see a couple of big players right here. We see eBay, we see Apple, Yahoo, Microsoft, and a lot of these big guys that are ginormous now. So this is a warning to everybody. The way to look at the world, right, is everything crumbles, but then also rebuilds. And some key players, whether they have a hand in it or not, are able to rebuild stronger and stronger. So it's whoever pays attention. It's not so much of being an insider or whatnot, but if you pay attention, you're able to maximize on what the world is doing, especially from a Christian perspective. Is God tells us that there is a parable, right, where I think it was just the master or the farmer gives 3 talents to one guy, 2 talents to another guy, and 1 talent to another. And the first 2 multiplied their talents. The third guy, he just took it and buried it, and he was called slothful and disgraceful because he didn't do anything with what he had been given. And this is what God is talking about. Whatever you have been given, multiply it. You know, when we look at the gifts, is it for teaching? Is it for administration? Is it for speaking in tongues? Is it for healing? All these things, multiply them. You know, we have to work for Christ. People are afraid of the word work, whether it's in the secular world or if it's in the Christian world. No one wants to work. No one wants to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. This goes back to the curse in Genesis that we are all laden with. Women have a specific curse from God, and we also have, as men, have a specific curse from God as well too, that we'll eat by the sweat of our brow, and women travail in laboring pain. But the way that this affects us right now is we don't necessarily live on a physical currency. We've been shifted multiple times, and 2008 shows us, because then we had credit cards shortly after this. In 1929, in 1920 we had debt and we had loans for the first time, and then we had a stock market crash. Then we have in 2000 we had credit cards and digital payment, and then we had a crash, and now we have Bitcoin and we have Ethereum and cryptocurrencies, and we're about to be wrecked hard before the next phase. And this is just what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. This is what's going to happen. Let me show you guys something. We're going to go into the household debt for credit cards. For me, I don't use a credit card. I never have. But this worries me because this is the average household of the American. That means Christians included. I know so many Christians that have debt after debt after debt after debt. They're so freaking worldly. It blows my mind. Credit card balances increased by $45 billion from the previous quarter and reached $1.21 trillion at the end of December 2024. Okay. Think about that. Think about that. 1.1 trillion by the end of last year. And this year has just started now. Auto loan balances saw a 11 billion increase and stood at 1.66 trillion. Mortgage balances increased by 11 billion and currently stand at 12.61 trillion. HELOC balances rose by 9 billion to 396 billion, representing the 11th consecutive quarter increase. 11th consecutive quarter increase since quarter one of 2022. So within a 2-year span, 11-month increase. So whether you understand what is being said here or not, I think every American can understand that credit card balances increased by 45 billion from the previous quarter and reached 1.21 trillion. What else reminds you of trillion dollars? We've never hit this. We've never hit this in our lifespan here in America. But we also have House bill by President Trump, and this was in 2020, the healthcare plan, right? The CARES Act. The CARES Act. Remember when he said, "Oh, I've never signed this large of a printing or this large of a money, but there's a first time for everything." This is where we went into the $6 or $8 trillion into I think it was about 8 trillion total. And this is why we can't pay our debt back. This is why it's about to be crashed, because they planned this. The president, well, thank you very much. This is a very important day. I'll sign the single biggest economic relief package in American history, and I must say, or any other package, by the way, is twice as large as any relief ever signed. It's $2.2 billion, but it actually goes up to $6.2 potentially trillion dollars. So you're talking about $6.2 trillion bill? Nothing like that. This will deliver urgently needed relief to our nation's family, workers, and businesses. That's what this is all about. And it got 96% to nothing. And I don't know what was the number in Congress. And then, the going back and forth. The bill included $300 billion direct cash payments to the Americans. So that's pretty much all we got. Everyone else got everything else. $350 billion in job retention, $250 billion expanded unemployment benefits, $500 billion in support for hard-hit industries, $100 billion support our heroic doctors. Do you guys remember the doctors that were dancing on Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube saying, "Oh, this is so hard. We have to cover up. We have to cover up. We have to cover up." Making you look like an idiot and a moron. $45 billion for the disaster relief fund. $27 billion for the development, and it goes on, and it goes on and on and on. Now, let me show you guys something. We're going to go into gold prices. Gold prices for 2020. Gold was right at about $1,718, almost $2,000 an ounce in 2020. And then it's been on a rocky road since then. We just hit the historic high of $3,000 an ounce for gold right now. But when we look back in the 1920s and the 1929, we see that everyone was invested in the stock market, just like so many people are invested in the stock market right now. And this is just the calculation of gold. Let me start adding some stocks for you guys. The Dow Jones, S&P 500, and the US dollar. The US dollar doesn't really track because it is worthless. It is worthless. Stocks are more valuable than the dollar. Gold is more valuable than the dollar. Now, one thing that doesn't ever track the same long term is stock prices and gold amounts. So we have gold here on top, trading at $3,000 an ounce. S&P is about $5,000 per stock. Dow Jones is $41,000 per stock. And that's how it tracks, right? But everyone wants you to get into the stock market. They don't want you to invest in gold and silver. But what does God talk about? Is everyone had gold and silver. See, and then the US dollar, it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do anything at all whatsoever. And you can check these numbers out. This is just on SD Bullion. We can look at silver as well too. And the US dollar, silver is more expensive than the US dollar, because the US dollar is fake. And all these places know. We also have platinum. Platinum is also very valuable as well too. It's way more volatile than anything else. Looks like the high was about $2,000, a little over that. You could get an ounce of platinum for about $900 right now. Almost $1,000. So we're going to catapult into Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett in 2008, right before, started selling everything and creating cash so he could go buy businesses. The market has been buzzing about Warren Buffett's huge cash stockpile that reached record levels. The legendary investor has been a net seller of equities for the past 9 quarters. And Berkshire Hathaway, BRK, which is its trading thing, I believe, or its business name, a 1.28%, ended 2024 with $334 billion in cash and equivalents. So that way he has raw purchasing power. You can also go to Berkshire and Hathaway and look at his annual reports, the quarterly reports, and check everything out. But the last time that Warren Buffett sold to get cash, to get money, to get gold, to get liquid monetary value, whether it's, cash is still used, but some physical assets, instead of being in the stock market, he sold most of his stock. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, has been stockpiling cash, reaching a record $3.34 billion in 2024, and sold a net $134 billion worth of stocks. Cash pile ended 2024 with $334 billion in cash and equivalents, and significant increase in the previous years. Now, the reason for the cash accumulation is cautious investment approach. Buffett and his advisors have been selling stocks, including a notable reduction in Apple holdings due to high market valuations that don't promise sufficient returns. Focus on liquidity. Buffett's strategy reflects a preference for maintaining liquidity when attractive investment opportunities are scarce. Hedge against the decline in earnings, Berkshire Hathaway benefited from a predictable increase in investment income from improving Treasury bill yields, and that it substantially expanded its position in them, right? So Buffett's perspective. While some saw this as a warning sign, Buffett has stated that this posture is in no way representing a move from his love of stocks, and that the great majority of your money remains in that's funny. The great majority of your money remains in equities. Oh, Warren Buffett. It's hilarious. So I just wanted to bring you guys some of this news and to warn you guys, warn you as Christians that do whatever you want to do with your money, but God talks about gold and silver, and we're about to hit another depression. Whether it's tomorrow, the next year, or the following year, we will be hitting another Great Depression. And there's just powers that be right now that are holding it back and holding it back, making sure that their members are able to prepare sufficiently. And then when everyone that they care about is protected and all that good stuff, then everything will hit. Because gold is king. Cash is not king. Don't believe that. Don't believe that lie. It's a fiat currency. Look it up. Look under the Great Depression in the 1920s. Look at the stock market crash of 2008, and then think about what 2025 has to bring to you. It's a golden age, but for who? I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Anyways, God bless.
Artlist.io